Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.
The Catwalk Podcast showcases the greatest of the people of the Permian Basin through partnering in conversation with high-level leaders, social entrepreneurs, nonprofit leadership, and industry executives.
Well, Happy New Year, everyone. Welcome to 2024. Can you believe it? We made it through another year. I'm grateful for the opportunity to sit behind this mic since April of 2023 and interview a lot of different people. We're going to look back over some of those interviews and some of those high moments in 2023. But first off, I got Chris here. Let's talk about Christmas. And first off, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year.
When can you stop saying Happy New Year?
I think right about now.
This is about the middle of the month.
Yeah.
That's about.
We're in it. Like, there's nothing left. Like, we're already in 2024.
Yeah.
The year is not new.
It's not new. I've already had a year.
Yeah.
I've already had a year in the short time we've been here. What'd you do over Christmas?
My wife and I took a trip to San Antonio. We went and watched wrestling.
Yeah, you did. And there is a picture out there. I hope you will show everyone that picture of you screaming your head off, holding up a sign. Was that your favorite wrestler, or what was that moment?
That one right there. It's just a group that is really popular, and they've got a lot of energy. So it's
Popular
really
with who?
Just with the crowd.
With the crowd. Okay, okay.
Yeah, so it's just a lot of energy, and it's infectious, so you just
Yeah.
want to get in it.
Yeah. Did Santa Claus bring you anything for Christmas?
Yeah, I got the Ghostbusters Lego set.
Did you?
Yeah, the Ecto one.
Yeah.
Got that for Christmas.
How long did it take you to put that together?
Oh, well, I think we took a break in the middle of the week, and because my wife got sick.
Oh, yeah.
And-
Tell me about it.
So we did 2 days right after Christmas to do it.
Yeah.
And then we did about 3 more days during the New Year's.
Okay, so you took your time.
Yeah.
Yeah. What about New Year's? Did you do anything crazy?
My family came in.
Did you tear up Midland?
No, we went to my dad's house outside of Lubbock, and my brother and his kids and his wife all came down, and my
Yeah.
other brother came down. So that we did our Christmas then with the family.
Oh, that's fun. Well, if you want to ask me about my Christmas, I can tell you.
Well, I heard about your Christmas.
Yeah. Let's see. So everybody in my family got sick. Strep, flu, kidney stones, you name it. I think I got all 3 of those. It was not the best Christmas ever. I did honor you during Christmas. I watched 2 movies. I watched Die Hard 1 and Die Hard 2.
Good movies.
Those are great movies. I would have to say Die Hard 2 is more of a favorite for me than the first one.
I'm actually a bigger fan of 3.
3.
With a Vengeance. Yeah, that's my favorite one.
Is that the one with Samuel?
Yeah.
Samuel L. Jackson is awesome in that movie.
Yeah, I love that movie a lot. I love 1, but I think 3 tops it because I saw 3 before I saw any of the others.
Oh,
when I was a
really?
kid.
Now, I will say that I would agree with Santa. You know, we had him on the last episode of the year, and he said Die Hard was a Christmas movie, and I totally am on board with that because I loved it. I loved it. Everything about that movie is Christmas.
Yeah, it is. It's all based around
awesome.
Christmas. It can't happen without Christmas.
I got a Lego.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I stepped on it,
Ah,
and so that hurt. And I think with my kidney stones, I think I did have a Lego in my kidney because it hurt. And if you've ever had kidney stones, Have you had kidney stones?
No.
Yeah, don't. When the clipboard comes around to sign up for things, don't choose kidney stones.
Yeah, I've already picked
just
everything
uncheck
else.
the box.
I don't need that.
Yeah, you don't need that. Yeah. So New Year's, was okay. We went to our family ranch, but we came back and we lost our oldest dog. He passed away. So what a great Christmas and New Year's
Oh man, but
we've had.
the way you started that sentence, I thought you lost something else. We lost our oldest duck, and I was like,
Yeah. Well, yeah, I probably should preface that because I did send out a text to, we have a family text with the kids and the wife and stuff. And I sent out a family text that said, we lost Jack. And my youngest daughter was like, no, he's not. He's in the house. And I'm like, no. Lost was not what I meant. Like lost, like we can't find him. We lost him. And it's been a little difficult around the house with that. If you've ever lost an animal, a pet in your life, so it's been a rough couple of weeks. But I am so glad that we are now into 2024 because for the podcast we are booked. We have got a lot of great guests already coming up, and I want to take just a moment and let's reflect back on 2023. You want to do that?
yeah, let's go for it.
Well, let's see. When we started this, it was Moose and I from the very beginning, back in April of 2023. And we had the idea of creating this podcast for this chemical company that we're both a part of as a way to connect the company with things that are going on in Midland, right? We wanted to bridge a gap because sometimes oil and gas companies get out on their own, and we wanted to figure out a way that we could connect oil and gas companies in the industry to things that are going on in Midland, nonprofits, leadership, executives, so on and so forth. So we created this and we called it the Catwalk, and we got some crazy looks about the Catwalk, but the Catwalk is a connection. It's a connector, and we felt like this was a great way for us to connect with things that are going on. Now that has continued to materialize, and we're continuing to shake that out, and I love where we've been going and what we've been doing. The first couple episodes, I don't know if you remember, Chris, we did them audio. There wasn't really any video component to it, and there were some things that happened on a couple of those that we wish we would have had a video, right? I ate a taste test on a burrito that was supposed to be hot, and I kind of got a little sick on that, tasted on that.
A little sissy.
Yeah,
on
yeah,
that?
a little sissy on that. And then, of course, I want to talk a little bit later about, some of my top 10 lists that we did. But we had a lot of fun those first couple of weeks. And then we decided that, okay, maybe video would be the way to go. It seems like everything nowadays is in the digital world is video. So how can we make this a video podcast? So we got with some friends of ours at Element 14, and they have a little podcast room, and they were great friends for us, and we had a lot of hiccups through that season of recording there, but it was good for us. It was a great learning experience, and a lot of people said, well, you should have figured out the bugs and kinks before you went live, but I'm kind of from the fold that, hey, you just throw it out there, you just jump in with both feet and you do it and see what happens. And so Element 14 was a great help for us. And then we went down to some friends, M-Tech Consulting downtown, and they let us use some space, and we grew the podcast there. And then we came back here and kind of fixed out this studio here and finished out the year in this studio. And I know we've got a few things we want to do differently to add to this studio, and we'll do those over the next coming weeks. But we're very excited about where we've been and where we're headed. Chris, do you have a specific, I know we did like a 20-show special, and we talked about those, but over all of the ones we've done, do you have one or two that stand out to you? Maybe guests?
Well, I know Justin was a favorite of mine, getting to actually pick his brain and chat with him for a bit. But I think impactful moments, I think Paul Greene's interview was huge. I think I loved having Santa Claus on.
Yeah, absolutely.
That was great.
Yeah.
Getting to know him off camera was fantastic too. And getting to meet a lot of these people outside of just interviewing them is been a huge ordeal. Like, not ordeal, been a huge opportunity.
Yeah.
And so I've really appreciated those.
Well, I know when we talked to Scott Santa afterwards, off camera, like you said, there was a connection that you guys had from the arts, right?
Right.
Being a part of that. You what were some of those highlights from that conversation that never made it to the air?
Well, we had talked about kind of shows that we both have been a part of that we loved doing, things that we were passionate about in that area, some dreams that we've had about doing theater. A lot of people don't know, I did a lot of theater in college,
Right.
and just really had a passion for it. Did some community stuff outside of that. But he and I started talking about that. We started talking about kind of my days in TV, going from New York to LA to Oklahoma City to here, working the reverse route.
Right.
And just kind of bonded through those conversations.
Yeah. I think that's been the blessing for this is the majority of guests that we've had on, I have known them for a short period of time or some for a very long period of time. But there are things that have happened in the conversations that I didn't know about.
Right.
And that we're able to reconnect, or that you heard something, or I know I've seen in the community after an episode, I would run into people going, I knew so-and-so, they would mention who the guest was, and they said, but I didn't know he did that. I didn't know she was a part of that. And it was great for people to hear. And I think that's what I'm excited about this next year is bringing more interviews from a wide variety of people that a lot of people may know their name or maybe know their face, but they don't know a lot of some of the details behind them, like their journey to where they are today. And I think that's really important. In fact, one of my favorite episodes that we had was the one with Paul Greene and what Paul shared. And why don't we take a look at a portion of his story from that interview now? So tell us about this ministry that you have. I don't know, did you start this ministry? You're part of this ministry?
God started it. He used me to do it. It kind of leads into that with COVID and all that. I was running this business. On top of all this, through all that, I've lived a very, very rough lifestyle. I mean, alcohol, drugs, the partying, the money was there because of the oil field, the divorce. Sure. It was just what consumed me. And it was wild part of my life. And leading up until November of 2021, the catering was there, everything was successful, and I was feeling sick. And I didn't know what it was. I knew that something was wrong with me. I was gaining weight just in my midsection. I couldn't sleep. I was having terrible pain in my spine. I went to the hospital where they turned me away twice, telling me that there was nothing wrong with me here in Midland. I finally wound up going to Odessa's hospital, and they did full scans and checked me. And the doctor came out, and he said, "Man," he said, "I don't want to tell you too much, but you need to get into a specialist." He said, you've got some bad situations with your liver. You need to get checked out. And I got into a liver specialist, and they did all the tests on me. And in roughly of November 21, they told me that I had a year to live. And so
wow.
It was a rough reality.
What year was this?
November of 21.
21.
And so I've been told by the specialist that I have a year to live. And the reality hit, man. I was top of the food chain, man. I had oil money, I had this, I was partying, I was living that lifestyle, and now here it is that I've been handed a death sentence. And reality just hit me like a freight train, and I was getting rapidly sick. What was happening is my liver was shutting down, so I was retaining all that fluid inside, and it was attacking my, my nervous system and my spine. I reached out for a second opinion, of course, and got a second opinion they ran all the different tests just to tell me the same thing. They said, man, you've got cirrhosis level 3, borderline 4. On top of that, my left ventricle was failing. And so I had a struggling heart trying to pump blood to a failing liver. And then let's go ahead and add this on top of it. I was born with what's called hemochromatosis. I got that from my dad. It's hereditary. It's too much iron buildup in your body. It's not a problem. You give blood once a month, or some people do it every a couple months. They take a big container of blood and they just throw it away. But that becomes a problem when you're dying from liver failure, because they can't pull blood like that. Your body will shut down. So now I've got a failing liver and a failing heart and a blood system that's becoming toxic, attacking my heart and my liver. I'd lost over 30 some odd pounds, and I was, for most days, bedridden. I had to have somebody help clean me up, shower me, put my clothes on, do everything. The reality had hit, that I was facing death, and no one to blame. I'd done this to myself. I was man enough to admit that. Living that lifestyle and just going down that path, man, you always think, most people think, I'm not hurting anybody, stay out of my way. I'm not really hurting anybody. But the truth about that was, at the time, I had a 15 and an 8-year-old son that were about to grow up without their dad because of my selfish desires, because wanting to do what I wanted to do, and that wasn't fair to them. It wasn't fair. And life decisions, no matter how much you think that it's just about you, it never just affects you. It affects everyone around you. And most people in that alcoholism and the drugs and stuff like that, I was a severe alcoholic. I was what you call functioning alcohol. I've told y'all everything I've done, successful in business and all that, but I was drinking almost a handle of vodka a day by myself.
Wow.
I was significant amounts of alcohol, and there wasn't an option for me to get on a liver transplant list. The hospital, when you go in there for alcoholism, is considered chronic alcoholism, and there's people that have liver disease. There's people that have these problems, and so you don't go on a list above them. You get on a list, but it's a list with a whole lot of people in your same situation. And so they couldn't treat me with any kind of medicines. There was just nothing they could do. I finally, through my oncologist who treated my hemochromatosis, I got into the system to get into the Dallas Methodist Liver Institute. And man, I really had hopes there of getting out of Midland, but I had the same news through them. They told me that if I died and somebody was there, though, and they could call 911 and they could revive me, that I had a chance. They told me that if I could get to the hospital and get on a dialysis machine, that at that point I would qualify for a liver transplant. But outside of that, they're just it was just slowly sitting around, and it was dying every day. And it was a brutal reality. It was a brutal reality. And in that time, I'd never read my Bible before. I never really dug. I grew up. My parents were Christian. I grew up going to First Baptist Church. I grew up around it. But I told y'all I moved out of my parents' house when I was a senior in high school, and I just, when I could get up and get going, I started reading my Bible just a little bit at a time, man. And I started to, couldn't get enough of it. I couldn't get enough of it. And once again, I wasn't ever praying, why is this happening to me? I was praying that I wanted it to end, because every day I felt like I've been just in a severe car wreck. My joints, my skin, it was cracking open. It was bleeding. My body was, it was shutting down. I was being poisoned from the inside out. And this continued on and continued on. I sold everything. Specialists, they don't take payments when they're the ones that told you you're dying. So they want their money now. I had motorcycles. I sold everything. My bank accounts was pretty much drained. I was getting stuff ready for my best friends to be able to take care of my son when he turned 16 years old and get him a truck and all that stuff. But I never stopped praying. I never stopped reading my Bible. And I'd written down in a book that had asked you to write down, what, you got to have hope. You always got to have hope. What's some of your hopes? And I'd written down that before I died, that if I had the opportunity to actually be the father to my 2 boys that God actually intended me to be, and not that mess that I was their entire life, and that God would give me the opportunity to serve him. And my perspective had changed from just wanting to die every day, not dealing with this pain, this miserable pain that I was going through, to God, how can I serve you? And I didn't understand it at the time. I can tell you now why it was happening, but I was changing through my time in the presence of the Lord and reading my Bible and just praying as much as I could. And August of 2022, I went in, they did my biopsies, they did all that, my heart doctor, my liver doctor, everybody's doing everything. They checked all my blood work, and it was just what's going to be next type situation. I'll never forget when I went in there and I sat down with the doctor, and he was confused when he looked at me. He was looking at my hands and at my face, and he sat down and he said, Mr. Greene, he said, we've done all your checks, all your tests, we've looked at this, and he said, none of this makes any sense, but he said, your liver is at full function. He said, your heart is back at full function, and your hemochromatosis that's killing you on top of all this, he said, we can't find any trace of it. He said, it's in your DNA. We can find it in the DNA test, but your blood looks better than mine does. And almost in the same silence that we're sitting here right now, I didn't know how to react to it.
Sure.
I didn't know I had prepared for dying. I had set stuff up for my kids and stuff. I actually went home and sat on a couch like this just by myself and thought about this. And, man, I didn't know why. I had one of my best friends, his mom. I watched her die slowly of cancer, God-fearing woman and everything. And here I am just living this trash life. And why me? I didn't understand it. I just simply didn't understand it. But God had given me a second chance. And I started just digging in my Bible and wanting to know who this God was that had given me a second chance. I recognized that it was him. I knew that it was him. And I had Cody Stroud, who goes to Crestview Baptist. They had a recovery group that was going on Saturday mornings, and he kept asking me to go, and I was like, man, I'm never going back to that lifestyle again. Not interested in your class. Thank you. I'm good with that. And I ended up going finally one time, and the guy I told him my story. I didn't even know what giving a testimony was. I didn't know any of that, and I didn't want to be there. Nothing about me wanted to be there, and I told my story, and the guy sitting across from me, his name's Bobby, he looked at me, and he said, man, I need to hear this. He said, I've been needing God to show me something tangible. I've been struggling and to just show me a miracle. And he said, Paul, you're a miracle. And the hair stood up on the back of my neck, and I realized all this time I was fighting on that recovery group, I was like, this isn't about me. This never was about me. And it wasn't. Matter of fact, it'll be a year tomorrow. I was by myself. I was sitting there. I was in the shower, and I had this vision of this ministry that was going to be here in Midland, and God just gave me this ministry of something, and I'm not by anything saying anything about the 12 steps or the AA, but this was going to be God-based. This was going to be focused on him in a place that could be open 7 days a week, and people could experience recovery through seeking him. And I remember Cody Stroud, who came over that day, trying to explain to somebody that you've had a vision, that God gave you a vision, and thinking, oh, yeah, you're back on the sauce again. Where's the bottle at? I hope you throw it away, and he just accepted it.
In the early weeks, months of the podcast, we did Why Today Doesn't Suck. And we're like, why in the world do we call it that? Well, we wanted it to be something that would be catchy, something that people would remember, and we wanted it to be something that was date-driven. It's like, hey, this is so-and-so's birthday, and they're a celebrity, or this is somebody who's got a birthday, or they died on this date back then. And that was a lot of fun for a time, but then we really morphed into wanting to highlight different people. And so our conversations with our guests turned to who influences you? What are some things that are influential in your life? And that was a real highlight for me, because I got to ask the question of, who sits at your table and who's an influence in your life and who speaks into your life. Because I've learned as I get older, whether it's sitting behind this mic or whether it's just in life in general, is I'm being a little bit more guarded today on who I really listen to. Do you feel yourself, Chris, getting to that point, the older you get, that you're a little bit more guarded in who you're trusting and who you're listening to?
Yes, and through my career, I've learned that there are a lot of people who will guide you to benefit their own goals instead of pouring into you.
Right.
And so I'm really selective about who I allow to pour, because if that person is pouring into you and they're negative, they're pouring that negativity into you.
Right.
And so I've gotten to the point to where I only let a couple of people be that mentor to me.
Yeah. I think I'm the same way. I used to, several years ago, just, oh man, I sit down and pour into me. I want to listen to you. I want to learn from you. I want to hear from you because you're cool, or you got a cool title, or you're high up in your company, or whatever. And now I'm like, you know, just because you have a title doesn't mean you need to have the mic, right? Just because you're sitting in a certain seat doesn't mean that I'm going to really want to sit down and listen to you. So I agree with you. I'm really selective now on who I trust and who I listen to. And I think that's been something that's been a highlight from this past year, and what I'm looking forward to in this future with our guests is really diving into hearing their journey, their story of who's influential and who they listen to in their life. And we've had a lot of fun. I know I did a lot of rants. Moose did some rants. I know he kind of wasn't on the show the last half of the year, but he had some rants that he would go through. But one that I remember the most was my Chick-fil-A sauces. I don't know if you remember that or not.
Yes. Well,
So
here's the thing. Everybody remembers the Chick-fil-A sauces.
of course
but
they do, because I'm spot
remember-
on.
But they don't remember what they are. And you know why?
Why?
Because nobody cared.
Okay. What do you mean nobody cares? People care about their sauces.
They care about what sauce they order, but they don't care about my top 5, and they don't care about your top 5.
I believe
They
people care about
their
my top
own
5.
personal top 5.
Well, I would, if I could amend mine, I would probably make everything be Chick-fil-A sauce. Everything that I eat, whether it's fries, nuggets, salad, whatever, is the Chick-fil-A sauce.
If I could
That's my
amend your
go-to.
list, I'd delete everything. I'd set the list on fire.
Yeah, of course you would. And if you could set it on fire right now, I bet you would do that.
Yeah, if it wasn't a safety hazard, I'd be burning it right now.
Well, one of the things that I laugh about is when I ask questions to people about, you know, who would play you in a movie, and how many throw pillows do you have in your house? And I remember there was an interview at the oil show. Do you remember when we did the oil show?
Yeah.
At the Ector County Coliseum back in October, and I interviewed two great friends, Casey and Elizabeth, and I remember they went back and forth and kind of a fun argument on some of the questions I had. But let's take a moment and look back over their little interview that we had at the oil show. Who has more throw pillows in their house?
You.
For sure, me.
How many? Can you count them?
In all rooms.
This is important.
In
Yeah,
all
this
rooms.
is important.
I would.
For all ladies watching, this is important.
I would say at least over 30 in the entire house.
30 throw pillows?
Probably.
I have 2, Jay. I have 2.
2. All right, that's my kind of girl right there. 2. Why would you have? What is the necessity for throw pillows? I don't get it. Is it decor or is it?
Probably the neatness, the professional part of it.
Okay.
And my husband thinks they're junk, for sure.
I like him. I mean, no, I kind of we have some throw pillows in our house. Okay, who's a better cook?
Oh, her.
Ooh.
I don't cook.
Oh.
I order meal prep every Saturday to be delivered every Monday morning.
Meal prep. Can you get that from Chick-fil-A?
No,
No.
but that's DoorDash.
That's DoorDash. Okay, so you're the better cook.
Only because I follow the instructions on the HelloFresh little
Oh, okay.
pamphlet.
Oh,
So
right. Okay. All right. Now this may be probably the biggest question that I could ask. I'm sure everybody that's watching wants to know. Swifties?
oh,
No,
Wait. Okay. You're a no. You're an emphatic no.
I'm a
that
no.
was an emphatic no.
And you're a well. Okay. So there's a story there.
I wouldn't listen to her on my own, but I do with my daughter, if that makes sense.
How old is your daughter?
7.
Okay, so she's into that.
Yeah.
You didn't take her to the concert?
No.
My daughter has no idea who she is.
Really? None?
None.
Are they not at each other's house?
They are.
Yeah,
and they go to the same school,
and they're
same
in the
class.
same class.
This is crazy.
My daughter did ask, who was the half-naked lady on all the girls' T-shirts last year?
Who was it?
Taylor Swift.
Oh, Taylor Swift. Okay. Well, then I'm not going to let my girls have that shirt. Of course, mine's 23 and 18, so I could care less.
My
what they're
daughter,
gonna wear.
she's all into sports.
Okay.
That's all she wants to do is be outside, play in the dirt, play sports.
So she's a sports girl.
Yes.
So are you saying Taylor Swift's not a sportsy?
I would not say she's
Yeah.
sporty at all.
Do you know who Travis Kelce is?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
You do now, or did you know before?
We do now.
You do now.
No, I knew before only because he was on my husband's fantasy team last year.
How's his fantasy team doing?
I think he's actually doing pretty well this year.
Is it for money?
Yes.
It is.
Don't ask me how much, though. He probably won't even tell me the truth.
He's not going to tell you.
No.
You're not looking at that little line item there. Okay.
You know, as I look back over all of the interviews from the year, there were 5 that had a large number of views and downloads. And those are the ones I just want to highlight real quick because they were throughout the year. There was not a rhyme or reason on like, hey, for the next 3 weeks we had the largest we've ever had. We grew each week, but I remember our top 5 was Paul. We've already seen Paul's portion of his. The oil show, we interviewed a lot of different people in the oil show, but 3 that really stood out to me that had a lot of views and had a lot of feedback was with Jeff Patterson. Jeff Patterson, baseball coach at Midland Classical Academy. Justin Thomas, good friend of mine who's gone on some mission trips with me. He was on our show and had a great following for his. And then Stephanie Miller, who's a part of the real estate industry in the Permian Basin. Her episode was wonderful, and I really appreciate all of our guests that were on for that year, and I'm looking forward to the guests of this next year. Speaking of real estate, we had Jesse Willman on. And Jesse is a team leader, coach for Keller Williams here in Midland. And I know we had Tim Lester a couple of times as a guest, but also as a co-host when Moose was in and out. And I remember we had Jesse on, and Chris, I don't know if you remember this episode, but I asked her what were some of the top leadership buzzwords. You know, that's a thing that goes on right now is buzzwords, you know, and we're going to throw this word out and it's going to be real catchy, like circle back. Do you have some buzzwords that just drive you crazy?
2.0.
2.0.
Absolutely
Yes,
can't stand. And
absolutely.
the fact that we're all on the same page on that one, like worse. If you cannot figure out a way to describe what you're trying to move
Yeah.
towards, and you have to come up with 2.0, then you need to wait.
You need to wait.
Don't
Yeah,
move
that's a
towards
great
it
word.
until
That's a
you
great
can
word.
describe it.
That's a great word. Well, I'd like for us to take just a moment and go back and look at Jesse's as we describe those top leadership words and what Keller Williams means to her.
And then I hear people saying, well, be the smartest person in the room. And so I love hearing you say that. But you also said a couple of buzzwords.
Okay, let's hear it.
And I'm wearing one of those buzz phrases right now.
Oh.
Right? I'll circle back.
Circle
I
back.
hate that phrase, but I love the shirt.
Yes.
Yeah. But so what I thought is on leadership, I would look at some of the top buzzwords in leadership. And I'm just going to throw them out and you tell me, yeah,
Yay or
no,
nay.
or that makes my stomach hurt. I
Okay.
don't even know what that means, or that's awesome.
Oh, I
and
love it.
Yeah, I know you use pivot, so that was in
did.
there. So here's some of my words.
Okay.
Synergy.
Love it.
Love that word.
Absolutely all for it. You have to have it.
Got to have it. Well, circle back, right? I don't. Okay. Low-hanging fruit.
Oh. I don't care for that.
Yeah.
It's cliche.
I know what they're trying to say.
I know what they're trying to say, and let's be better.
Touch base.
Oh, very important.
It
Well, in
is.
my business specifically,
Okay, and because it means to connect or
constantly connecting.
let's get back together. Let's pull everything back in.
Yes.
Okay. Drill down.
Oh, it's kind of. Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
Yeah.
That's a little. It's a little aggressive.
2.0.
Ugh. I'm done with 1.0. I'm done with 2.0. Can we figure something else
Can
out?
we- can we
Nobody
do
wants
something
to
else?
sign up for 2.0 or 1.0.
Yeah.
It's not exciting. It sounds like, oh my gosh, I'm going to sit here and I'm going to have to think about it and
Yeah.
it's going to be a boring conversation. No, find a title that is attractive and grabs attention.
Great
1.0,
point.
2.0, get rid of it.
Win-win.
Yes,
Yeah.
in all things.
Because
There
it's a
is-
win for me, it's a win for you, a win for that company, that group.
You should not do it if it is not a win-win.
Yeah, yeah.
Period.
Put a pin in it.
As in like a location?
Could be, or it could be hold that thought.
Oh.
Put a pin there. We're going to come back. It's kind of the whole
We're gonna
circle
back to that.
Yeah, but I think it's a really attractive way of saying, okay, put a pin right there.
Hold that thought.
Hold that thought.
Okay.
Put a flag on it,
Ooh.
whatever,
I'm gonna start
and then
using
I'm going to
that.
come back to that because what you're saying over here is really important, and what you're saying over here is really important, right? So we agree on some of these buzzwords. Some of them I'm like, please, I don't want to ever hear that word
Never again.
Right?
Put a pin
in
in it.
real estate, do you have some key phrases that you guys lean on that's important?
Yes. So real estate in general, absolutely. I'm going to circle back and talk about Keller
pin in it,
Williams.
yeah,
Thank you so much. Yes, but do we have drums?
We don't. We can put some in there later.
Keller Williams specifically, what I love about this company is that we are so incredibly agent-centered and agent-focused, but we do so with thought-provoking actions. And a part of that is our mission, vision, values, and belief system. Now, in leadership, sometimes those are buzzwords, and sometimes those are things that are written on a piece of paper, given to you when you sign on, and then they're never talked about again. And that is where it frustrates me, because if you have enough people and time to come up with a mission, vision, values, and belief system and perspective.
You know, we talked earlier about my Chick-fil-A sauces, and I'm a little bit hurt emotionally that you would want to tear up my list. And I know we've joked about the wrap that Chick-fil-A has.
Yeah, that's not a burrito.
It's a burrito that's cut. We've had this discussion. I mean, we could go into, is a Pop-Tart a sandwich? All of those kind of discussions and stuff. But one of the things that I really, really enjoyed was having Justin McConnell on. And Justin is part of the Chick-fil-A franchise here over by Midland Drive. And we had him on. And I remember he brought some milkshakes, brought some surprises with us. And I want us to go back and take a look at what he brought, but also what he talked about that Chick-fil-A does well for its customers. Because I think if everybody would go back and listen to that interview, there's some things that a church, a business, a school, entrepreneurial person can glean from that, can extract from that conversation that Chick-fil-A does extremely well. Because he talked about that there's like 8 to 9, 10 different kinds of chicken restaurants around town, and most of them are chicken restaurants. But Chick-fil-A is more than a chicken restaurant. It's a people restaurant. It's a people business, and I loved his conversation. So let's take a look at his right now.
Well, I want to hear about Chick-fil-A. I want to hear about all the things that are going on. I know, first off, you brought some stuff. So what do you have for me to taste? Because I love Chick-fil-A. So what do you got?
It's special for you today. So we've got our seasonal peppermint shake is officially rolled out as of today.
Awesome.
So I've got some shakes here. I do have one special off-menu peppermint shake. It does have the Oreo cookie crumbs instead of the peppermint.
Wait a minute. It's off-menu?
Off-menu.
Okay, so this is exciting for me. Okay, which one is the off-menu?
We're going to go right
Go ahead
here.
and hand me that one.
Yes, sir.
Yes. Oh, my goodness. This looks good. Actually, I am going to not share this with anybody. Okay, which one are you going to try?
Okay, so I'm going the peppermint, no whip, no cherry.
Oh my gosh, this is amazing. And there's only one of these. Okay, that's the off menu. What is this one? Is this...
Okay, so that one is peppermint with whipped cream and cherry, so all the way.
All right, Chris, come get it. This will be for you. All right, so what is off menu is you guys have not
Right, so it's one of these that we found.
shared it yet, or
Yeah, so it's as you work in the restaurant, you kind of get to mix it up a little bit.
Yeah.
So off menu just means there's no secret menu. It's not any kind of trend. We just figured out if you're not real big on peppermint, put some Oreo in there, you still get the flavor.
It's a great balance.
I
It's
do.
people.
Yeah, I think Chick-fil-A, corporate, and then individual restaurants I do think that we've got a good grasp on, yes, chicken is important. Yes, food's got to be good. Service is always there. Service and hospitality are the two kind of key pieces of what we do. And I think people recognize that. I think they realize that. I mean, a lot of the feedback we get when I get to go through the receipt comments we get, they give you the free sandwich. A lot of them are, hey, super friendly staff, great staff, very fat. Like, ever so often we do, and I will be the first to tell you, we'll mess up every once in a while. We're far from perfect, but we understand that when guests come to see us, they choose to come to see us.
Yeah.
So as I do orientation with my new hires that come in, what I tell them, we count the chicken places, right? So
Wait, you count the chicken places?
We do. So
what does that mean?
Yeah. So I'll ask them how many chicken places are in Midland. So we'll name off. So I'm a little competitive. So
I'd like to know how many there are.
So there's at least 9 other chicken places that just sell chicken.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah. So then if you take that and if you add a couple, a few of them have different locations, so multiply that. But then you also take into effect that everybody now offers a chicken sandwich, even if they're not a solo chicken restaurant. But the heart behind that is that I get to tell my team is that if someone will pass by all of those restaurants and come to us with other with I think 8 other Chick-fil-A's just between Midland and Odessa.
Yeah.
I want to serve them well. I want to make sure that we greet them, we're hospitable, we give them a good product, good service, and then we're friendly. We're good to them because there's a reason why they picked us, and I honor that and I value that and I cherish that.
You know, I'm so excited, and I've said this many times, and you'll hear this every week about this new year. I mean, we've already got the next several months are booked and packed, and our guests are ready to come and be a part of the podcast, and we're just so excited. Chris, I'm very grateful for you and what you're doing in the chair that you're sitting in, and looking forward to this next year. I know Moose is going to try to drop back in when he can and be a part of some of these conversations over this next year, but what is the one thing maybe that you're looking forward to? I know you've seen some of the guest lists. We don't want to give away some of the guests' names, but you've seen the list. You kind of know where we're headed this year. What is something you're looking forward to in 2024 on the podcast?
For me, I think I'm looking forward to expanding our reach.
Mm-hmm.
You know, some of the upgrades that we've done here in the studio will allow us to talk to people who are influential in the Midland, Odessa area that don't live in the Midland, Odessa area.
Yeah, that's true.
And
we're not just local anymore.
Right. Yeah. And I'm looking forward to getting to build those relationships, build the relationships with the people that we have on the list already locally, but also moving outside of the city limits.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that's a key thing. I'm glad you brought that up because we're looking at testing how can we bring the podcast, the Catwalk, to people outside of Midland who in some way have a Midland or Permian Basin connection, because we want to do that. We always want to connect people to people in Midland. And so I think that's going to be a great thing to do. I know that one of the highlights from this past year that I haven't mentioned yet is our remotes. And I'm grateful for Hoop and Barrel and Element 14 and others who have let us come on their property and film an episode. And we had some of you that are listening and watching be a part of the show. And we have several of those in the works as we're planning toward those for this next year. So just want to let you know, all of our faithful listeners and viewers, if you hear that we're going to be somewhere in the Permian Basin, come out to the show. Come be a part of. There won't be an oil show this year, but there will be some remotes, and we'd love for you to come out. We'd love for you to meet you. We'd love for you to be here and be a part of the show and meet our guests. And just like Chris said, I'm so excited that we're going to be able to interview people in such a way where they're not in this studio, but they're going to be a part of the Catwalk and the podcast. So thank you to all of you who've been day oneers since April, when we started with the owner of Performance Chemical, Jerry Fuller, when he was on the show, all the way up till the last one with Santa Claus. All of our guests, thank you so much for being with us, for sharing. Those of you who've watched, those of you who've listened, thank you. We are so excited about 2024, and that first episode comes up next week.
Elevate your operation with Performance Chemical Company, the pioneers in redefining chemical solutions for the oil and gas industry in the Permian Basin. Unveiling groundbreaking ideas since 2017, our dry chemistry plant stands as a testament to innovation. Our products and services revolutionize water treatment, production, midstream, and saltwater disposals. We're your strategic partners in optimizing investments, slashing operating expenses. Performance Chemical Company. How you get there matters.